Hi YouTube, how are you today? I wanted to make a quick video about the 7 things that God hates. And you can get this from Proverbs. Um, I use the King James Version of the Bible. If you turn to Proverbs chapter 6 and you start in verse 16, it says this: These 6 things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him: a proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, and heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among the brethren. And then in verse 20 it says, My son, keep thy father's commandment, and forsake not the law of thy mother. So the writer here, which I believe that scriptures are inspired, so the writer is God, but he used a man to pen this. Um, if you look at this, it says a proud look. Pride is a terrible thing. So someone who thinks they're about something, I mean, you know who they are. You know who you can tell just by talking to them. You know, people that, I don't know, they talk down to you, you know, those kind of people that think they're better and they know everything. And there are some people, you know, that do have wisdom, and you should seek it from them. But generally, they're humble. You know, they're humble people. They can say thank you. They can say you did a good job. They can say um, they appreciate what you did. If they don't have any appreciation, if they don't ever say thank you, um, if if everything's about them and they're proud of themselves for everything they do, that's kind of what that's talking about to me. Um, a lying tongue. Everybody knows a liar, and there's some people out there that are pathological liars. They lie about everything. They can never keep their facts straight, and they can't even remember what they lied about. They lie so often. So they might tell a lie, and then later on can't remember the lie they told, so they have to tell another one because it's not the truth, so they can't recall it. Hands that shed innocent blood, obviously a murderer. And heart that deviseth wicked imaginations. In other words, when you're doing things that are just evil, just bad, and you're purposely trying to do that, that's a terrible thing. When you plot against somebody, that's a bad thing. Um, feet that be swift to running to mischief. You know, if you're always trying to steal something, if you're always trying to get over on somebody, if you're always in the middle of some, you know, scandal, you're always stirring the pot, you know, always getting involved in negative things that aren't edifying to other people, you know, um, creating dilemmas in your home life with your relatives, your family, your coworkers. You know, you're always whining about something. You're always trying to stir things up. And you're always trying to get over with the rules or with the laws, you know, or standards that are set. Those kind of things. You're just getting into trouble all the time. You can't follow the rules, you know. A false witness that speaketh lies. Notice he says a lying tongue in verse 17, and then in verse 19, a false witness that speaketh lies. So now you're testifying against somebody else about something you think they did, or you're trying to get them in trouble for something that you think they did. Or you're just speaking lies to lie, period, um, about them, to disgrace them, or to humiliate them, or to discredit them. You know, so you speak lies. Or, you know, it could be that you're challenging whatever the truth is in a situation. Um, if the truth is a biblical truth, you'll disagree with that. You'll disagree with the biblical truth, um, and speak a lie. For example, the biblical truth is that God created the heavens and the earth, and all that is in them is. Okay, but then you have an evolutionist who will say, no, we came from a wild explosion millions of years ago, and the earth was, or the universe was squeezed into a little dot that's no bigger than a dot on a page, and we came from rocks. That when the rain rained on them, the rain turned into a soup, and the soup came alive. Yeah, okay, that's ridiculous for starters, if you think about it for a second, because it rains on the rocks all the time. Are any of the rocks coming alive? Have you seen a rock come alive? Has anyone seen a rock come alive? No. So when you're telling someone lies, like the children in a school, you're telling them a lie, that's not good. Now you might believe that lie, and you might think that lie is the truth, but that doesn't mean that it's just because you think it's true, doesn't make it true. The things that are true are found in this book. The things that are true are found in this book. God has told us what is true and what is not true about the creation, because none of us were there. So we had to learn from God what happened. And he told us. It's in here. And he that soweth discord among the brethren. So if you're a Christian and you're constantly hampering your church by, talking bad about cousin Betty or one of the other members in the church, and you're constantly stirring up the church, that's the brethren. That's not a good idea. You should quit doing that. You should, if you have a problem, then there's ways to handle that. If they've done something they shouldn't do, there's ways to handle that. That's a whole nother video. And then the writer says, the writer says, my son, keep thy father's commandment and forsake not the law of thy mother. That's to people that are young. That's written to someone to give them advice that their parents, they should obey their parents. That's what that's saying. Obey your parents. Now, he lists the 7 things here, and I think it's very important that you understand that a lying tongue and speaking lies, God hates that according to the scripture. So try not to lie. I mean, that because it's mentioned twice. I mean, I think that's kind of important that that's mentioned twice. I think most people would agree that shedding innocent blood, being a cold-blooded killer, yeah, you could see why God would hate that. A proud look, though, is the first thing that's mentioned. Pride. So be careful with that. There are a lot of things that you can take pleasure in, accomplishments, things like that. But be humble and realize that, yeah, it's that if you have accomplished something, it's something to keep in check. And remember that there's no one is good, except one, which was Jesus. There are things about us that can be good if we're trying to please God. And I think there are sometimes we do please God. But you've got to be humble about that. If you're a preacher, especially, or a pastor of a church or some form of religious leader, you should, that's following the Lord, remember to be humble And I think that's a trait of Christians, is that they're humble. There's something to be said about being confident in what you know. There's something to be said about being confident in how you do your work and how you do your the things that you do. Having confidence in yourself, but you have to be humble and thankful. And when you do go to a job, if you're a Christian and you're working for someone, you should work for them as if you're working for the Lord. They're not the Lord, of course. And sometimes they think they are, but they're not. And you should work for your employer as if you're working for the Lord. And treat people like he said. Love your neighbor as yourself. Treat them like how you would be treated, like you would want to be treated. Follow the golden rule. But I wanted to go over the 7 things that God hates, because I think it's important that people hear how big a deal lying is. And in our culture today, that's a lot of what is happening. There's a lot of the media that is lying about things, not telling the truth, knowing they're not telling the truth, and going after people on the basis of lies. And that's that's not going to work out well for them. It might for the moment. You might think, oh well, but it's not. And if you look at what's going on in our government and the things that are happening and the lies people are speaking, you have to really be paying attention and follow the information and do your own research before you start making opinions about what is happening. As Christians, we need to discern things between evil and good. And the Lord will help you to do that. If you're following him, he'll drop it in your spirit how to approach that. But many times, people just need to be patient and let the situation develop before they react or cause an opinion. If there's an investigation to be done, relax. Let the investigation happen and then form an opinion after you've been given more of the facts of the case. Don't just jump on a bandwagon because it sounds good. So I wanted you to hear that. I think that in our society today, there's so much lying going on and so much pride. Anything to do with where your stance is pride, be careful of that. Pride is not a good thing. Humility, being meek, not proud, being humble, being thankful, not proud, not pushing to where you're affecting others with your pride. Think about that a little bit. Remember to be humble. Those of you that are following the Lord, remember to be humble and be thankful. And I think a lot of Christians are, and we just have to be a light and try to shine as much as we can. But remember, our issue is we need to let Jesus shine through us. Let him speak to these people. He will take care of it. In the end, he will take care of it. Remember, every knee shall bow. And that's a pride issue. I don't mind bowing now to the Lord. But I think a lot of people fight that. And they're like, oh, no, I'm not going to bow to the Lord. Oh, yeah, you will. You will. Whether you want to or not, you're going to. And at that moment, I think you're not going to have a choice. When your knee bows, it's going to bow because it has to. There's no option. Your leg will bend. So you probably should get that done now. That would be the way to do it. Like, to volunteer to do it would be the way to go. That would be the wise thing to do, is to volunteer to submit yourself to the Lord and to become humble and to admit that you're a sinner and to turn to him and say you need forgiveness. That would be the wise thing to do now. Because later your knee is still going to bend, whether it does right now or not. God gives you that option. But there will come a day that you won't have that option. So you should think about that, heartily, because you never know when your day is going to come that you're going to not have an option anymore. And hopefully you've made the right decisions along the way so that you've already done that, because that is a wise thing to do. The fear of the Lord, I think, in one of the scriptures says, is the beginning of wisdom. So, or knowledge. It's either wisdom or knowledge, or maybe there's one on each. But that's really a smart thing. Fear the Lord. You should do that. I should do that. I try to do that. I do fear the Lord. That's why I try to behave in a certain way, because I do fear him. But I also love him, and he's been wonderful to me. And for those of you that are born again, keep up the faith. Be strong. And for those of you that needed to be reminded of some of the things God hates, take note and try not to do those things. Anyway, you have a good day. Be blessed. And for those of you following the Lord, keep the faith.